this computer. Okay, recording in progress, meeting call to order at now 6:02. If everybody would announce their presence on the roll call. Okay, Gloria Parkinson here.
Alan Pratt here.
Notaro here.
Christine Latrell here.
Jim Webster here.
Okay, so off we go. Now, I know that, Dave, you have a hard stop at 6:50, so I am proposing that we move briskly, right? So, first of all, I'll entertain a motion to accept the draft minutes of July 9th meeting. So if someone would like the motion and someone would like to second.
I will
Motion
move.
to accept July 9th minutes.
Okay, I will second.
Double your second. Okay. And okay. Okay. Any revisions, thoughts, observations, etc.?
Good.
I got nothing.
No, minutes circulated in blue.
I get nothing.
They were good.
Okay, so in that case, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, again, roll call vote. So Gloria Parkinson, aye.
Christine Latini, aye.
Notaro, aye.
Alan Pratt, aye.
But out of order.
Jim Webster, aye.
Okay. Just make a note of that. Okay. Okay. Now, so we don't have a lot of groundbreaking news, but, gentle updates on things. So if we look at, first I'll ask, I know it's been terribly hot and I really, thank you, mowers, for everything that you have done, just to keep the trails open on these extraordinarily hot weeks, not even days. So thank you for that.
And I have to say, it's not me. I haven't mowed anything, so it's all Alan and Ray and Dean.
Yeah, I
Okay.
haven't mowed for a long time. It's those two guys I think have done the most recent.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Dean.
you're all so honest. So okay, so you can have no kudos to you two, and all the kudos is going to go to Dean and Ray. Okay.
We'll,
Right.
we'll put them in for bronze stars.
Yes, right. Okay. So it's right. Okay. How's the equipment going that we know of?
As far as I know, everything is 5x5, running good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Equipment. Good. All right. I did make a note. I think this is on your to-do list, Jim, to make sure that Sam Bell is available for the annual conservation mow.
Yeah, I saw it when I was reading through today, but I haven't called him, so.
So can we just delegate you as
Yeah.
the contact? And it should come anytime after on or around that 18th of October date.
What's the 18th of October in particular?
Well, we've got a volunteer day.
Oh, the volunteer day, okay.
Yeah. And interesting enough, he has coordinated sometimes with that date, but it's any time there or thereafter.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we got that underway. Okay. Yes. Conservation mow. Rusty fence is still on hold. We're not done with it yet. Okay. All right. So an update, everybody, on the wetlands review, which, as we know, is all part of climate adaptability, resiliency, etc. So I did meet with David Cowell on July 13th, which was just a couple of days after our July meeting. Basically, and I asked him to really focus on the grassland, the big grassland field, to basically assess what we've been talking about for some time now, which, from our, lack of professional knowledge, but seeing especially the bottom areas of that field literally transitioning to grassland habitat and watching the, what's growing there now. So Dave agreed that based on his observations of the conditions down there and the identifiable wetland plants growing in those areas, a transition is indeed happening. So when I said, well, so what do we do about it? He said, you just let it happen at its own pace. So even if we have, some dry seasons like we've had now, we still got those plants. We've got that row of alder behind the loosestrife. So it's all there. It's all happening. He did recommend he wants to show us all about the, the mass mapping plans, because apart from just showing us areas, he said there is layers within that program that will show with the contours of the land where other wetland areas might develop. So it's sort of it's not the same as doing a wetland survey, but it gives a lot of information. Dave has offered to do like a half-hour session in the Clinton Library to show how to manipulate this resource. So I'm proposing that we take him up on that and find a date that he can do, probably around a 5 o'clock-ish slot after he's finished work, to go to the library on one of the days that the library is open till 8, and do like a 30 minutes, 45-minute tutorial on using those resources. Your thoughts on that?
Whatever, sounds okay to me. I mean, I don't have any objection.
Sounds good to me, and
Yeah.
should be interesting and valuable.
Okay, so I will try and set up some dates with him. Now, the other thing about part of that is knowing what else might happen going forward. That's going to determine where we reroute the grassland trail, right? So in other words, we're looking to allow people to go around the grassland, which they haven't been able to do for some time. They can go so far and then they turn around and come back. So we're looking to reroute the bottom part of that trail.
Can I just say, I'm not quite sure where you're going with this, but there is no way, given the wetlands, to go completely around. What we need to do is to create a loop so that instead of just having a dead end, it can loop around and rejoin where
Yeah,
it came from,
okay.
right?
I think that's fine. I'm just saying, let's get some data and then propose with that data and what we have seen, that all around a loop, whatever. Yeah. I'm not locking us in. I'm not proposing we get locked into anything. We need to follow what's there now. That's what I'm saying. So we're agreeing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're going to do what we always do, which is show that we have done our due diligence and not made it up ourselves. That's the point. We are making sure that we've got Dave Cowles, because he is a senior wetland scientist, and we look at these maps. We go back to the Conscom and say, this is what we propose. They okay it. It's not an NOI. It's not that. It's just them as being the overseers of the property. Okay? Rather than us making the decision without running it by them. That's really the point. Okay?
Whatever, it's,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to change the maps anyway, because we really haven't we're showing a trail on a map that hasn't existed for quite a few years now, so.
Right. And we don't want to make those changes until we decide this. Yeah? And then we hurl it back at Christine. The endless evolving maps of Rauscher Farm. All right? Okay, shall I go on? Yes? Following the agenda here, the electricity in the barn, there's really no point in pursuing this until there is a town administrator and a procurement officer, which we can then cost it and go to that person or persons, whoever they may be, to be able to get the funding for it. Which is why I leave it on the agenda. But right now, the existing town administrator and procurement officer, Mike Ward, his contract has been extended, but officially only until the end of August. So that's, as far as, information that's out there at the moment, that's where it stands. And should they being the select board and the HR and all of that situation, should they find someone and have someone in place in September, then we can bring it back for an active discussion on our agenda in September or October. Does that make sense to you? Because
Yeah.
even if we go out now and try and cost something from National Grid, it won't go anywhere. So it would be better, I believe, to get a quote relatively close to asking for the town to bring electricity to the barn. That's what I'm thinking. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And likewise, putting the farmhouse usage and sign, the historical research and all of that development also slightly on hold until town governance has more of the major players in place. It's the same thing. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes, here.
Okay. Oh, the nursery garden. Okay. Well, I think this is where Alan gets the big kudos, right? Jim and I have been watering, but Alan he's the main. Thank you, Alan.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Alan. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, me, for taking photos as we water. So we're seeing things coming into bloom and seeing things on them. Yes.
I did have another or the same monarch on our milkweed. No, I mean on our yeah, it was on the milkweed this morning, and also on those thistles that are outside the fence. So I got quite a few pictures of that, but on my real camera, not on my cell phone. So I haven't unloaded those yet.
Yeah, and thank you for your photos too, Alan. I mean, it's important to keep documenting this. I know that the thistles, and Dean remarked on this, they are not technically native plants, but my gosh, do the bees love them. I mean, the whole thistle, say that fast, thistle bush just vibrates with bees.
And
So,
the trouble with those,
they're probably Dave's. They're probably Dave's bees, but
no, there were bumblebees on them this morning that I
oh, there
saw.
were.
But again, they will just take over everything left to their own devices. So we do have to thin them out come fall.
Yeah, no, we just for now while they're blooming, while they've got the.
I noticed that the goldfinches like the thistles also.
Really?
Really? Oh,
They love
okay.
the thistle seed. They pull it right out of the top of the flower.
There's also a lot of them around outside the fence. I mean, we need to sort of, after the flowering season is over, just get the ones off that are trying to climb over and around and through our fence, because there's still plenty of them out there for everybody else.
So
Yeah.
we will designate official thistle residents and then trim out the interlopers.
Sounds good. I have an observation about some of what I've seen from inside the pollinator garden, but it's out in the wetland there. There are 2 or 3 purple loosestrife plants. They're not clumped together, they're just in separate places. But I remember that happened a couple of years ago, and I dug them up and bagged them up. So I'm
We
thinking
should
of
do that.
doing
Yep.
the same thing.
That's great.
They're
No,
in bloom
if
right now.
yeah, no, if we can, if they're just isolated ones and we can get them out, we should do that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
thank you for seeing those, Alan. Thank you very much. And thank you for digging them out if you're there. And the rest of us will also have to pay attention, right? Um, as part of the pollinator garden, I am proposing having some work detail out on Saturday, August the 23rd, which is a week Saturday. And I will send out messages to, other people I know who have volunteered on Rauscher Farm and see if they can come. But first, if anyone here, do you have thoughts? I was thinking about offering 2 2-hour shifts. So in other words, it would be 4 hours for me, but people could come for 2-hour shifts, like a 10 till 12 or a 12 till 2, whatever. What do you think? So when I reach out to the larger community, I can give
If
them
you can
some.
work that out to get the larger community on shifts, that would be great, but we do need to make sure there is one of us regulars there to operate the power barrow.
Oh no,
Yeah.
we have to be there.
Right.
Yeah, right. So I'm saying, Jim, you and me are there all the time.
Right, I'm expecting that, but also, Alan, Dean, anybody else is available, but aside from that, yeah, fine. As long as anybody, whatever, however you want to work out shifts for people who aren't regulars, that's fine, as long as there's a few of us regulars there to operate the
Yeah.
equipment.
And I may, when I send out to, the group of other people who've helped in the past, I may give them, you know, sort of a 10, maybe 9 to 11, 11 to 1, and then a 1 to 3 and 3 to 5 type thing. Well, really it's you and me, Jim, that need to decide how we're going to do it.
And again, like everything else, it depends on weather and temperature and rain and
Yeah,
all the
no,
rest, so.
but the goal will be to deal with the walkways
Yeah.
by
But,
the
but
end of the 2
I'm just
shifts.
saying, I'm assuming we're not going to still have oppressive heat 2 weeks from now, but if it's like it has been, nobody can be out there that long in that kind of heat, that's all.
No, I know.
So do you think that there's 4 hours of work? I mean, we don't know how many volunteers are going to come either, so that makes it
Yeah.
tricky, but I'm not, uh, it doesn't feel to me as if there will be 4 hours of work with multiple people.
We're not just weeding, okay? We are going to be cutting. Remember, this is Christine's idea from last week. We're going to be cutting that crabgrass in all the walkways. We're going to be laying down the cardboard, and we're going to be piling the mulch on top of the cardboard.
Yeah.
In other words, we're building pathways with cardboard and mulch.
Within the fenced in area of the garden, right?
Along the
Yes.
walkways, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
based on, the last time we did it, before we had any pads at all and we covered the entire area, it's quite a bit of, I mean, ideally you want to have 1 or 2 people up at the pile to shovel and somebody else to relay the barrel back and forth and a couple of people in the area to, spread and rake or whatever.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah.
otherwise you're just losing a lot of time with the same people going back and forth and having dead time in
Yeah.
between.
Right.
There's one additional step in
Yes.
putting the mulch down. It's recommended that you wet the cardboard before
Yep.
you apply the mulch so it conforms to the ground and doesn't catch a corner and with the wind blow
Yep.
it away.
Yeah, we did that
Yeah.
last time and we have the hose,
True.
we have the hose down
True.
there permanently right now for the summer to water anyways.
Great.
So once it's on, it's on. And you also, because I haven't been up for a few days, so I don't know how much weeding there needs to be done between then and now of the actual areas where the plants are.
There's not too much that needs to be done. I did quite a bit of weeding on a couple of days. I guess it was early last week, and some weeds have grown since then. But within those little caged areas where
Yeah.
the plants are, they're still in pretty good shape.
Okay.
And the grass is getting pretty tall again, but again, it was like going with what Christine said, we do have a battery operated weed whacker and spare batteries. So if we could just
Yeah.
weed whack that as short as possible and maybe rake away the excess before we put down the mulch.
That sounds
Before we
good.
put, yeah, so that would be weed whack, cardboard, wet cardboard mulch.
Weed whack, rake.
weed whack rake. Sounds like a bad song.
Or a strange band, yes.
Yes. So weed whack, rake, wet cardboard, and mulch.
The tricky part, when we put down the mulch last time, there was nothing there, so we could just drive over everything. Now we have to be careful. We can bring that barrow in only so far without, you don't want to roll over the plants that we already have. So we may end up having to shovel some stuff into buckets or something and move it, or
Yeah,
I'll put it in a pile while somebody shovel. In other words, we have to repile things move a barrel load down, dump it with a couple of people with shovels, spread it out and rake it while somebody's going
right,
back to the barrel
right,
for the next load.
right.
Whereas
So,
the first
but
time we were just doing the higher field, we could just sort of
yeah.
put down the barrel and back
I'm
up and spread it out.
just coming back to Alan's point though. So, Alan, rather than 2 2-hour shifts, what about 1 3-hour shift? And what I could do, if I did that, I would suggest to people 9 to 12. I'd give them the option of signing up. Let me know what you're in other words, what are you available for? And if you're available for both, great. Because what happened last time when I tried to recruit people for the weeding thing, there were people who wanted to do it, but they couldn't do it at that particular time. And they offered another time. So in other words, if I asked them, are you available for either of these shifts, or if both, please let me know, and then we could know if people were actually available. That might be a more effective way of doing it. But I think that 3 hours anyway should be the maximum for regular volunteers. What do you think?
Again,
Thoughts?
to me, it all depends on weather. I think 3 hour
I
maximum,
know,
yes. But again, if it's really oppressive heat, 3 hours can be deadly. So it depends on the temperature. And
I know, I know. Well, I'll put it out as 3 hours, and then if it's really hot, or if it's medium hot, we'll cut it back to 2. I mean, people cut, they use this, we'll
and
get as far as, you can
the
get
other
as
thing, we
far
do
as
have a
we can get.
hose. We do have a hose if people want to just soak themselves down if it's wet too. If they
Oh,
don't mind
yes, we
getting.
could have the wet t-shirt,
Yeah, it's true. Well, let's not
the
do
wet
that. No.
t-shirt contest, like the kids do, right? Now, where is it? Florida? Is that where they do it?
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of sailor bars in Norfolk myself, but that's.
Might get a lot of volunteers if you adapt it that way.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness me! Can you just imagine it? And I hadn't thought of it as a recruitment strategy, Dave. Right? All right. So we sort of have a sort of plan, right? Because I want to work on this in the next 48 hours so I can try and get some people in. All right. So, Alan, are you around on that? You're
I
all
am.
laughing.
I
What?
am. I
You are.
am.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So there's the 3 of us to organize it, and we'll work it out, right?
All right.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Gloria, I have a question about the walkways. So is it the goal to maintain the existing width of the walkways? Because some of those plants want to spread, I'm pretty
Right.
sure.
And we let them.
Yeah,
And we'll let them.
I'd seen at least one of them is already outside of its area, but
Right.
that's
Well,
fine.
that's great. I mean, this is
Yeah,
now when we start to let rip, because
yeah,
some of those from planted last year, right? I mean, they're crawling over the
yeah,
mini fences at this point.
yeah. But even
So,
aside from crawling over, way down here, way down toward just before we get to that, the Carolina Rose way at the back, whatever's next to them, one of
yeah,
those is already sort of like rooting its way out from under the side or seated
That's what
outside.
right. And I think when we get there, we should look at it and decide, how big are the walkways going to be, because the plants are going to come first. But
Yeah,
even if we put a walkway in now and the plants moving in, we can just narrow the walkway next year,
sure. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we'd have killed off the crabgrass, which is
And
what the
At some point, are we going to divide the plants and put some plants out in the meadow?
Yes, but I want to
In the
talk to
pasture?
Rob Gaugier about that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, I'm not going to go and just have us do that on our own,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Rob. I think we should consult with Rob, you
sounds
know,
good.
and
Are the existing walkways wide enough for a lawnmower?
Well,
it
well,
depends.
depends. Our lawnmower that we have in the barn is purposely a wide, like a 30-something inch wide mower. But we do have a weed whacker. So,
Okay,
and it's not that much grass. It's easy, just as
okay.
easy to go in a weed whack.
Yeah,
I've been doing some Google on the side while we've been talking, and it's a 50-50 whether or not you even have to clear out the vegetation before you put the cardboard down.
Really.
So if it's a even enough layer, they recommend wetting that down too, just to get it to be a little bit more
Yeah.
mushy. Then the
But,
cardboard, you can wet
yeah.
that and then put the mulch if it helps eliminate an extra step in the process.
Well, as it is right, some of the grass is just, it's getting higher, but you also have some that are suddenly standing up like, a foot
yes,
high,
yeah.
you know.
You
Right,
mean the
I was
crap?
thinking of this, the material that's cut, you were talked about raking that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not necessarily needed to rake it out unless
Okay.
you're getting a big heap, if you want
Okay.
to thin out the heap. But if you wet down the cuttings
Okay.
and then wet the cardboard, they're saying it's just more nitrogen for the soil underneath.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's do that.
okay, good. Yes, let's forget that step. Thank you, Christine. Okay, so, okay, all right, yes, right, because that will speed things up and also, be less confusing. Just, we're just going to weed whack all of
Yeah.
this, then we'll wet it, then down goes the cardboard and boom,
Yeah.
on goes it.
Yeah.
And to Alan's point, yeah, as the plants are spreading within the garden, we do need to make sure they can spread.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal. And then the next step would be where else can they go?
All right. But if we need to, we can always, rake back some of the mulch if we want to make more room around the plant beds too. But
Yes.
And
Once,
the idea that we're using cardboard and wetting it first is that it's going to degrade quickly as opposed to a weed barrier, which would
yeah,
allow the plants to creep more easily also next year.
yeah.
yes,
I did, because I
I
know
have
all
to
that,
say it's amazing. The stuff we put down, the
right,
cardboard, when we did that, that is completely biodegraded,
right.
Mhm.
you know. So excellent. Okay, so we have a plan, right? And then if we don't get everything totally done, then there's still September
Yeah.
for another few volunteer hours. Okay. But I'm going to see if I can get, if I could get 4 people, that would be a good number. Too many people and people get. Anyway, we'll see. Okay. All right. Moving along. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So thank you for mentioning as we get now to invasive species. Thank you, Alan, for the update on the loosestrife moving thing up there too. Okay. Yeah. Whenever we see it, if we can dig it out, fine. I in the discussion document, I think we need to check in with, I'm going to speak, he's still around from Cornell. What does he think has been these very hot spells on beetles? I mean,
I'm not really up on the sort of the different stages of the life of the beetles. So can we expect to still see beetles in the same form that we put the beetles out on the plants in the spring, provided the heat hasn't killed them?
well, we don't, interesting, good question. Okay, really good question. Because when we checked this spring before, wait, months, March, April, we didn't see beetles, but we did see evidence of chewed leaves. So the leaves, those early leaves on the loosestrife, which had grown, which had popped out in spring, right? They weren't there, winter, right? When we looked at them, there were signs that they had been chomped on, which suggests that the final eggs of the summer before had wintered over, which they can do. right? So,
not this year, but the year before when David Ammerman was with us, he
yep,
was spotting beetles before we even put our own beetles out. So
okay,
he has an eagle eye for beetles apparently because he was seeing
yes,
beetles that had winter and had wintered over, had hatched out after over the winter.
right.
So we know we have the whole. We saw the chewed leaves, but last year David Ammerman actually saw actual
So
beetles.
beetles, right. Okay.
So,
So
so
yes
if
is
we
the
walked out,
answer.
if
That's
we
the
walked
answer.
out now, we should see beetles out there
Well,
on the
no,
leaves.
okay, no. Well, not necessarily because we put the beetles on at the end of May, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
immediately will start, following their biological imperative and lay eggs. Those eggs will develop and become full-grown beetles by around the beginning of July, whereas their parents have died off, right? Because of the life of the adult beetle.
Mhm.
So then we have the second generation coming out now, eggs being laid again in July, going through the life cycle, eggs, larvae, beetles, which means there's then another crop of adult beetles, right, into September. They too are going to lay eggs, and those are the eggs. If they're going to winter over, those will be the ones that will, maybe with the change of seasons, we don't know, develop and go through a later stage. Either way, the final sequence of events is eggs that winter over, and they do it in the ground,
Okay.
right? So that's why, yes, we were looking for, and if David Ammerman saw them 2 years ago, we saw much more evidence this spring
Right.
of chewed leaves.
Well,
So that's the
I'm,
whole goal. That's the whole goal of the program, that some will winter over and start the whole cycle again. I mean, we're priming the pump by purchasing beetles and putting them on the plant. But the whole cycle is about this wintering over, starting off, procreating, egg, beetle maturation, egg, and so on. So it goes in these life cycles.
yeah. So I think you're saying that we could expect, I'm just curious, so I think I'm going to go out and look at some of those plants that we put the beetles on in May and see if there are beetles on there now, because how do we know they haven't died of the heat or flown away to
That
somebody
we
else's
don't,
field?
yes, we don't
So,
know
so
that.
I
Yeah.
just want to see if there are beetles on the plants now, and what do you, there should be, right? I think is what.
Okay, from July, not, there
Can I
may
say
be a,
the unknown? I don't know if any of us know how long is the actual life cycle of the beetles once they become beetles. Do they last for 2 weeks or a month or 6 weeks? I don't know.
right.
But so I mean, they go through that generation of larvae beetles and then more larvae. But does the actual living beetles, how long do they live as beetles
All right.
before
Well,
they
I'll go
become?
out there and see what I can
Yeah,
see
yeah.
what I
Right,
see. I'm just curious.
yeah, okay, and the big unknown here is heat. We don't know what these blisteringly hot temperatures have done,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, onwards. But
Yep.
yes, they do winter over, and that is the goal.
Yeah.
Or enough of them winter over to develop into adult beetles very early in the weather cycle, right? And then multiply and it's about multiplication,
Right.
and it can take 7 years
Mhm.
before you truly see. I mean, but we are seeing chewed leaves, a lot of them, so we know it's happening. But good questions, Alan. Thank you. All right, so that was the beetles. My goodness. Um, okay, the path to Clamshell Pond, right? I think that's where we are now. Okay, just reporting in that the Conservation Commission are in favor of, going to the town for, oh, I know one thing I forgot to add into this, I'll tell you. Yeah, so basically, yes, to go to the town and ask for 100K, right? That's a warrant article. The town, the Conservation Commission said that yes, they wanted to go for the whole shoot, try and do the whole thing, and then if that didn't work, then break it into the 3 sections that we've talked about. The 3 sections being the parking areas, the path itself, and the viewing platform. But to try and go for the whole thing. The other thing is that I could not go to their July meeting because I had to go to another meeting, and Jim went to that meeting. And yes, they, and subsequently also I have learned from the town accountant, Diane Magliosi, that a warrant article needs to come from, or has historically come from, a department, right? So it would need to be an article in the name of the Conservation Commission. The reason it wasn't done the last time was because it wasn't really a new request. It was really repurposing money that was already sitting in the town coffers. We're talking about the 144,500 amount left over from the purchase of Rauscher Farm. This, though, would be a new request and would need to be, written and submitted in the name of a department. That's what I've been told so far. Now, with that also running in our heads, I also mentioned later on in the discussion document about materials that Christine and I have created a mini brochure that will be available to hand out at Old Home Day. And we might tweak it after that, but we will have some copies of it. And that will basically be a document that basically says, this project is very important, etc. And there is so much money already being secured, but the project needs another 100. Here's how you can support it. All right, now, and we'll send that round to you very soon so you can take a look at it. And then if, you can give us, if you think we're missing anything, let us know. So in other words, we're beginning this. We don't know when the next town meeting will be, because there's meant to be, as we know, this conversation is ongoing with the unions, the fire department, etc. And when those contract is, finalized, there will be a special town meeting. Whether we're ready to go at that point will be something else, but we should assume and start working on it now. So the Conservation Commission will need to put their name to it. I would propose talking to doing a draft and then perhaps sending it to the Conservation Commission, and at the same time sending it to Attorney Gibbons to say, is this the right sort of wording? So we get it in motion. Your thoughts?
Sounds like a good way to proceed.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we'll do it. Right.
Good.
Yes. Right.
Good stuff.
Running. Article. Return and attorney. Okay, I'm just making notes to myself here, everybody. Okay. So shall I move on? You are. There's anything to add to that? Going down the. No? All right. Volunteer. Number 8 on the agenda. Volunteer citizen scientists. Okay. Oh, look, I just mentioned that. Right. The August the 23rd, the pollinator. We just did that. All right. That was, and we do have a volunteer day on Saturday, October the 18th. This is what we agreed to at our last meeting with a rain date of the 19th. And of course, I would propose to do is when we get to our September meeting, or even, our October meeting, which we had before, is we decide on priorities for that day based on looking at what we think the weather forecast is likely. So we can do it in that October meeting. What projects can we do with volunteers if we know what the weather looks like it's being, even if it's a long-term focus? Does that make sense?
Yeah, just look at my calendar here.
Yeah.
Again, I'm perfectly happy to continue attacking the Japanese barberry that we're working on, but again, depends on who's there and what kind of people, what kind of teams we could set up,
Right. Right. Well, there's also well, let me throw this thing into you. It may not be, but there's some signage on the barn that needs to be flipped. So, and I'll come to that. Actually, why don't I move on to the communication and outreach, because that's where we got the signage stuff. Sent you the big barn signage is suffering a lot from UV. It's whole sections of it are simply not legible anymore. We have put in to the $5,000 budget that the town gives us a signage thing, but Christine needs us to look at that, the two big signs, which I sent you, so that she can send and get a quote, and then we see if there's enough in that budget allocation to do it out of that funding, or we find some other source for that. Now, also, there's some of the earlier, smaller signage that was to do with conservation that was, several years, 2 or 3 years ahead of the most recent batch. That is beginning to look a little woebegone. There's one particular one of Cindy Bear volunteering by the large silo, that she's starting to look like a hologram. So, but Christine reminded me that they are double-sided, which means we can unscrew and flip some of those, right? So that might be something that we should do, though, before the winter.
Can I just say, yes, good idea if we can do it, or depending, again, who we've got when we finally get some weather to work in, there is so much that's not being done up there because of the
Right.
pollinated meadow, and now we're talking about signs and whatever else. What's not happening is all of the forestry stuff we need to do and the tree
Yeah, no, I
banding and all the
understand.
rest. And if we can get time when the weather is decent and people are available and we're not on vacation, which includes us having a couple of vacation trips over the fall, time is, fleeting here.
Well, we will,
And right
I
now,
know, I hear.
and to me, a higher priority is trying to get some of the actual conservation work done on the property, or we have some weather we can do it in, and then have other things wait until spring if we have
Right,
to pick and
okay.
choose.
No, we'll just prioritize. I'm just giving you the lay of the land, or rather
Yeah,
the side of the barn.
yeah, yeah,
Because, we don't see it because we're there all the time.
yeah.
But if you look at some of that signage, you will see these gently hologram images emerging where the UV has stripped out some of the colors.
I'm also aware of downed trees we need to deal with and that
Yeah,
kind of stuff that's just been
right,
waiting all summer because of the weather. So
right. No, I hear you. I hear you. We'll prioritize.
At the
I'll be
very least, if we can get the content approved for the larger barn size, even if we decide to do a refresh on all the signs, flipping and installs in
Yeah,
the spring, so they're not exposed to the salt and the plow and all that. What we've run into in the past is that the signage waits until into the spring, and then we run up against getting the bills in time to pay vendors when the fiscal year closes. So, if content can get approved on the signs, the larger signs now, I can get the quotes, come back to the
yeah.
group, get them into production, so they're waiting on for us when it's appropriate time to do the install.
Yes. That's a
I'd say
great, no, I agree. That's
the sooner,
because it is a nightmare to get the bills through
yeah,
in, as Christine
the
says.
sooner we can pay for and buy them, that's fine. They can always wait in the barn. And they could all just
Exactly.
be so out of the blue. That could suddenly be like a misty, rainy weekend. That could be a good day to do that when it's not
Yeah,
good to do something else too,
yeah, yeah. Okay. So gang, look at what I sent. Look at Christine's. it's basically what it was. The only change is that we are now calling the path to Clamshell Pond, according to what other conservation organizations refer to, accessibility, paths, trails, etc., as all persons trails. And you'll find this on Mass Audubon, etc. If you look under their accessibility, that is the terminology.
The other administrative change on the signs is introducing the town seal to go along with the town information. So there is a visual connection to Rauscher Farm property and the town, because we didn't have that on the sign before. We had the Rauscher Farm logo on one of the signs, but we had information on how to contact the Conservation Commission. But I think it's important to have the town seal on it as well to bring that full circle for anyone who's new up there.
I agree, because there's a lot of confusion out there when we run into people who don't understand who actually owns and manages the farm.
Yes, no, true. And there is there is that information, not just the logo, but there's information about the Conservation Commission. So take a look at it, everyone. And if you could get back just like within 48 hours, if you see anything that, especially if, because Christian and I keep looking at these things, which means we're not going to see any typos. David, we're not going to see any typos. So you guys do it, but can we put a 48-hour deadline on this?
Yeah,
So in other words,
I read through twice today and it looks good, but I will look again a couple of times
we
before
do. Yeah, we Christine needs extra gimlet eyes other than mine, because I just see whatever I think I'm seeing now.
We all know all too well that, you see something that they think should be there and it isn't.
Correct. And okay, and also on that tack, we have in the works. And Christine made this is an excellent point. I wanted to make sure that there was some information about the all-terrain wheelchair that the library has, because it's sitting there and no one's going to use it if they don't know that it exists. So, but Christine's point was, don't put it on the very big signs, because the vehicle could change, within the lifetime of the sign. So we are going to put up another sign for that with a QR code. And I did check with the library, because they have a thing called, all these objects you can get from the library, and they didn't have that on, and they have now added that. And so there's now a QR code link, which I will double check again. So that will work, but that's coming soon. So we have that we have a draft of all of that, but that's not for your review right now. But what we do need is to get the bill paying for next June sorted out, because it gets to be really stressful. Okay.
I need to jump off, guys.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dave. I think we are.
Okay.
Yes, we still have a quorum. Good to see you. Welcome home. So we are really right. We're basically now simply talking about the communication stuff, and there is no permissions received, and there's been no violations. Okay. All right. Yes. All right. So, oops. Anything else that we're not telling you right now on the outreach stuff that Christine and I have been doing? Oh, one thing I was thinking about, there's no one around in the summer, so I am planning on in probably the September newsletters, redoing the story walk promo, right? So not only are people not really paying a lot of attention to social media, you can tell by the flow of Facebook, but we need to sort of pump up some stuff like the story walk again in September. So that will go out as another 550 people mailing about that.
Gloria,
Um,
could we also do a push for the Nature as Imagination as well? Because if we're going to be having that
oh
exhibit
gosh,
in the
yes,
fall.
no, I do have to do that. And in fact, you and I have to confirm because I also, um, the third part of Nature Imagination is the library, but we need to get people to go out taking photographs. It's been too hot for them to do in August. Absolutely right. So we really need to do a big blast.
On all the socials and the email if we can.
Yes, yes, definitely. Okay,
And we
okay.
might want to have a larger tabletop easel back piece at Old Home Day to encourage that as well.
I do.
Right, what are
Um,
the dates for that in November for the,
they are November. Wait a minute. Okay. November 14th and 15th, Friday and
okay,
Saturday.
all right.
So Christine, can I ask you this? The 11 by 17 third that is now on the barn, should I use that? Get another copy of that run off for Old Home Day?
Are you gonna have space for it? Would you prefer an 8.5, 11?
Um, well, I have these, I've got some spread. Okay. Should we talk about this offline?
Sure,
You
I'm
and
just
me
bringing
about
up the
what
flyer.
size?
Yeah, I could do an 8.5, 11, or you can do the 11, 17. Just let me know what you need.
Okay, because when I do some of those bigger spreads stuck on boards, okay, let me think. Okay, let me contact you offline what size I should do
Okay.
for that. Okay. But we don't need to do another one of those. I mean, that says it all, right?
Correct. It's just a question of we don't have an 8.5 by 11 version of that now. We have 11, 17 and smaller.
Ah, yes.
So we
Okay.
can
All right.
continue to talk about it offline but that I didn't know if you'd
Yes.
have the real estate for the 11, 17 at the booth.
Yes. Okay. And given it's a small booth.
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Offline, we'll decide on size. Okay. Thank you. Um, okay. Um, okay. Anything else? This is really, I'm turning to Christian here because a lot of this has been,
Um, um,
she has
um,
been
old,
driving this
old,
bus.
old Home Day itself, which we found out yesterday that hours have
Yes.
changed, and we now need to know who's going to be available and what we're going to be doing, et cetera.
Okay, yes, so we have a booth presumably next door to the CGCT as usual, because I asked, Chris Epstein to make sure that we got that. Um, it's now running from 12 noon to 5 p.m. on Saturday. But there's an instruction that we have to be all set up and ready to go by 11 a.m. So this means that in past years it opens at 10, opened at 10, right? So that's the difference, but it actually needs to be up by 11, which means actually running the booth. I don't know who's going to be available from our side.
This is September 6th. Am I right about that?
Yes, Saturday, September
Yeah,
6th.
I won't, I'll be away that whole weekend, Friday
Okay,
to Sunday, so I'm not going to be able to make it.
okay. No, I understand.
Yeah.
So I will check with Dean to see if Dean is around. Um, I can ask Dave. I mean, I'll ask everybody, are you around to do a shift? If not, it will be Jim, you and me.
You have the
Man,
library too, right?
well, I will be leaving you to pop over to the library.
Yeah.
Like I'll take a lunch break, like we've done before.
Yeah.
Does that work?
No, it's fine. I just thought you had like major things going on at the library, but there'll be other
Well,
people there to
there
handle that. Is
is,
that
yes, but I'm not in charge of that. The major
okay?
thing is the architect will be there,
All right.
Marie will be there,
All right.
etc. I need to just be there in a supportive role, but not
Yeah,
actually,
okay.
not actually a spokesperson on that day. I'm a spokesperson on other days. Um,
Well, that's
so
fine. I mean, if nobody else is there, I can cover. Ideally, it'd be nice if somebody else was there too, at least part of the time. So it just
yeah, well,
depends
we'll
who's
try and see
around.
if there's someone around who can
Yeah.
help.
I
One
mean,
of the other.
5 hours of me talking to people is pretty much my week's quota. So
Yeah, I do. I know. Yes, I do know. But I'm not. As I say, I'm not the major component at the library. I'm just, need to be seen to be there. That's all. I'll spit my breadcrumbs out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. You know what? I really miss Evie. Evie was always an old home day. Um, I remember her with such fondness, and old home day always reminds me. So anyway, sorry, a little moment of
well, that and all the deer and duck reports from Rauscher Farm. Yeah.
what and all the
That
what?
and all that and all of Every's deer and duck reports from
Yeah, I
Rauscher
know,
Farm. Yes.
I know. Yeah, she would always she would call here a lot, and she would always end a conversation by "Love, love you." It's like that was the intonation. Anyway, sorry, you don't know her. She was a very sweet and gentle soul. So, but Rauscher Farm rep went and made sure had a representation at her funeral. So, it's okay. Anyway, okay. Um. All right. So yeah. So brochure mentioned the brochures. Okay. Um. Okay. This community Rauscher Farm is a community asset. I haven't got hold of Phil Duffy yet. I was hoping to do him today. Um. I have looked around town, right? And it seems that it's the electrical boxes by the light, for changing the lights, right? And there's one, opposite Depot Square. I see a box that has nothing on it. Now, but I'm going to see if Phil might, have some other thoughts, um, or wandering around if there is a small wall somewhere that would like a mural, because that would be fabulous.
How about one of the walls I guess it's the old gas station building at the corner of Water Street and High Street. I think
There was something about
that's
that
town
was like
property.
a that was like a hazardous cleanup site, and it's now been cleaned up. And there was something in the paper about now that it's been cleaned up. I don't know if anything's going to be done, but it's available to have something done to it, whatever that might be, in
Yeah.
terms of being
Oh,
rehabbed to
yes. Well,
solar
why
or
don't I
something.
mention that to Phil? I think it will be for us to,
I think it got painted gray a couple of years ago. It looks like it's got a
yes.
pretty decent paint job on it with nothing else on it.
And if I'm not,
Right.
I think it maybe belongs to the town for unpaid taxes, and the town wants
It
to do something
does.
with it. Yeah,
Right, yeah.
It
yeah,
does. Good
yeah.
idea. Yes. And then there's the box on the corner of Main and I think it's still Water Street, isn't it? Okay. Yes. But I think let's make a grab for that corner. I mean, no, if no one else is doing it, why not? I mean, I know we couldn't do this because it's such a great wall, but I've always envisioned a mural on the side, the Clinton Savings car park, the side of the
I know
building.
the
It's
one you
such,
mean, yeah, by
oh,
the restaurant,
yeah,
Simple, by the
Simple man, yeah.
simple man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's again, that's private. I mean, but Alan's point is well taken, and yours, Jim. The town did have taken that, but non-payment of taxes. Well,
I've noticed that the item seems to be carrying more sort of long feature articles about people's businesses and other things in the town. What about having an article, Gloria? Maybe they would interview you for an
yeah,
article about Rauscher Farm, a cover article.
I think it is time for that. We did actually have, going back several years, not long after the purchase, we did do a Rauscher Farm column, which I wrote. Rauscher Farm, how it all worked. You won't get a column out of Jan now because, with the paper. But what would be great is the timing of it around getting the path to Clamshell Pond. I think we need a really strong hook, and we do need a strong hook because we want this project to happen, basically. So let's keep thinking about this. It's a very good point. So, because having a focus around, if just saying, oh, it's lovely up there, why don't you come? Versus, it's lovely up there, lots of people are going, but these people can't go unless we have this.
Gloria, if it works out timing wise, would it be possible to do a letter to the editor leading into the warrant article for the special town meeting? And do it
Excellent
that way?
idea. Yes. That would be a great
And I
idea.
believe the meeting I was at last month for the Conservation Commission that Gloria wasn't at. And when I did ask about the special town meeting warrant, somebody said, it might have just been like a passing comment, well, the special town meetings are usually a sort of reserved for the special issue, like the fire department funding or whatever, which means there could be some reluctance of the town to put something on that isn't just, the
Yeah,
main housekeeping reason that it's there.
Mhm. I have heard that. I've heard it actually from, again, Diane Magliosi, who's wonderful for Rauscher Farm, incredibly helpful. Who decides that is the moderator, who decides what goes on the agenda of the town meeting. And I think it is quite possible that but I'd like us to be ready. Do you know what I mean? Because if you don't ask, you don't get. And also, there's going to be a lot of big ticket items coming up in the summer, like the library project. Which is going to ask the town to buy a bond for the shortfall of the grant from the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. So, I'm suggesting we're prepared, but not overly hopeful that we will get onto something before next year. But that doesn't mean to say let's not be very well prepared and have things like letters to item, and a guest column in item. And the guest column can come before the letter. In other words, the guest column says, this is what's planned, this is what's happening right now. So it'll be a glorious column about Rauscher Farm, the pollinator, nursery garden, the wonderful beetles, because everyone thinks that's funny. So the guest column can be all sorts of funny, quirky things, and the path to Clamshell Pond. And then the letter to the item is absolutely, as Christine says, targeted for when it's on that town meeting.
And just to make sure we're both talking about the same thing, so I'm thinking of a feature article on the front page, and usually they go onto one of the back pages from continued on. So is that what you mean by a column?
Okay. Let me take this to yes and no is the answer. those feature articles about someone opening their new shop or their new etc., 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 is one thing. There is still, not to say guest columns in the item. One of the most regular people is Terry and Garno, who
Right.
will do a
That's
guest
right.
column on something else.
I guess.
Historically, that's what we have done.
Okay, I see.
I can't remember how many we did ultimately. But then the item hit really rough times and we didn't even know it was going to survive. I think that's when it all went a bit pear-shaped and its size was used and everything, etc., etc. I think it is stronger, I would suggest, to go for the guest column approach with a photograph, with visuals,
Okay.
and talk about, the amazing things that have happened, since the town purchased it, basically. What do you think? Because that means we can throw in all sorts of, the quirky things. We can.
Yeah, that sounds good. I get the paper in hard copy. I subscribe to it, and I can picture the column you're talking about, the Terry and Gano columns about the
Yeah, I
history
think
and so on. Yeah, so they catch my eye.
I think that we've got more chance of Jan agreeing to that
Uh-huh.
because all those other opening the businesses are about the items supporting local businesses, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're not all, I don't think they're always businesses. I know I said that, but they're often businesses. I'm trying to remember a non-business one. I think there may be some, but
There may be some, yeah.
Yeah.
We do get the
But
one sometime about somebody who's written a children's book or something like that, which is-
yeah, yes, he's done one. Yes, that's true. Uh, um, well, take a look at it. Take a look. I personally would favor the guest column approach because it means we can get various things in a guest column.
yeah.
Whereas if we're going to talk about one thing, we might be able to do both over time.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? So okay, so thank you. Okay. All right. We're almost at the end here. I always keep, our program things in there. Christine, one thing I will also pass to you is I have a registration form for art for the photograph display, which I used it for an art display at the church, and you actually filled it in at one point. And I modeled it on what the old home day registration form used to be. Can I send you my latest version from the church for a discussion so we can see, because we're going to have to get that out too, or have a link or whatever.
Sure.
But you're right, September is the time to sell that show. All right. I have one thought to share with you about next year. Okay. It occurs to me that, one of the things about Rauscher Farm, about nature, just not necessarily, is its incredible therapeutic value and there are studies, that show children that go out, do better and then come in and do a test, do better. But especially in people who have, some mental health challenges, that being in nature. So I am wondering if one of the programs we can think about next year would be a program that has that focus. Now, here's where it gets tricky, because having a one-off event with all of this unpredictability of climate change, it's very hard to know that you're going to actually be able to do a one-off event on Rauscher Farm anymore. We used to be able to say, okay, there's always weather, but now it is so variable. I mean, it was so bad for the Stephen McGrath photographic session on Rauscher Farm. Even when we did another date, it was still bad, and we ended So what I'm thinking is if we are looking at doing a program that talks about the therapeutic value of nature, it would be something that we set up that people could, that could be done in their own time. That I'm just throwing it out at a very, very early stage for consideration and discussion. And right now I don't have, I know there is scientific data, but I don't have it to refer to yet. But the tricky thing would be to find something that can be done without the difficulty of a one-off and the weather condition. So I'm just literally just throwing it out to mull over, to consider. Is it something we might consider researching? Is it something that we think is an important part of the Rauscher Farm programming? If so, how would we approach it? Okay, that's really as far as it is for now. And it may
And
be.
can I just say the unpredictability of weather? Is this the second of a third summer now where it's basically been like Maryland summers here? And I
Yeah,
think we just have to assume that our summers now, unless maybe it's just a quirk, maybe it'll go away next year, but I think we have to assume now that, from at least the 2 months in the middle of the summer is basically like, Washington DC weather,
mm, yes, probably true. Yes, yes. Even done the same earlier with the spring. Cold spring. Remember how cold it was?
Yeah, but I think that varies a lot more. I mean, it could go either way, but the summers now have just become like a
Yeah,
heat dome for the last couple of years.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So I'm just saying, in terms of scheduling outside things in the summertime, I think we just have to assume this is the default unless it turns around next year or something.
yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I personally agree. Yeah. I don't know how others feel, but I personally agree. And that's why, you know, even the story walk, you know, so we have
But
to really promote it, for,
at least that goes through the fall, though.
yes, it does. And it may be that what we're talking about, another in your own time, is also would run and be primarily visited, not in the very hot season.
Which could be like a fall event of some kind. Yeah.
Right. Okay. But to be researched, right? Because the other advantage that we get with all of this is the Octobers have been much warmer,
Mhm.
if we think about it. So we can go into, anyway, all right. Enough, everybody?
Mhm.
Yes?
Yeah.
We are a quorum, so I can entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:15.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Well, thank you very much. We have to approve it. Okay. All those in favor of adjourning? Gloria
Christine
Parkinson,
Latini,
yes.
Christine Latini, aye.
Hi, Alan.
Hi, Jim.
Okay. So this meeting, I will now stop recording. And I just want to say one word in response to Alan. Oops. Oh, wait a minute. Where are you? You sent me about, let me just check in with you before you disappear. Oops. Oh, pause. Pause.